Let's see, March 17, 2006. Believe it or not, that's about 18 years ago. And I considered Bob a pretty good friend, certainly through that period where he had a second home out here, and whenever he was out, he and Mike and me and others would get together fairly often, and he'd be on the radio here either directly or from his QTH back in Missouri, where we would have this set up via Skype. And I need to adjust something here quickly. I'm hitting it a little hard, I think. So anyway, at least my modulation monitor isn't 100% happy. Okay, so this is how Bob got started with Heil Sound, the beginnings of Heil Sound, and it all has to do with ham radio and his knowledge about his Harvey Weld transmitter, which he had talked to us on the AMI net from time to time directly. So anyway, here I'll play the clip now, and if you'll indulge me, it'll be about 6 minutes or so. It starts out with Mike KO6NM asking him a question about how he started using towers in the music business. And this is how that went.
WJ6W, K9EID, KO6NM. Yeah, no, Bob's serious. I think it's fascinating. And you know, it's so historical. That's the main thing, that you started something that was emulated by so many. And I know you've done very well, but a lot of other guys have done well by that. And I think the most fascinating part is that you're being a ham at the age of 14, and automatically, if you want to get anything in the air, just the story of the towers.
I'm not quite sure what Mike's talking about. He's probably talking about the beginning days where I got this business, and it was all because of ham radio. That Harvey Weld that you heard the other night, I got that in '56. My mom and dad bought that from Walter Ash, and I got my license in September, October, and got on the air with it. And it's got an 807 modulated by a pair of 6L6s and a 5V4 in the power supply, pair of 5V4s. And you know, as a kid, man, I got into that thing and learned how it worked and what it did. Well, here I was, 12 years later. I was playing at the Fox then, you know, the pipe organ. I learned to listen. That's the key to my success right there. Learning to listen. Voicing Wurlitzer pipe organs. Tuning and voicing those things as a 15-year-old kid. That was the key. Because not a lot of people know how to listen. It's an art, and I was honored and really blessed to be able to learn that from Stan Cam, who was my organ teacher, and so on. But anyway, 12 years later, after I played about 13, 14 years professionally, I got tired of that and seeing of playing, and I started a little organ shop and selling B3s, and all of a sudden, here comes a promoters renting Hammond organs from me. Because the big boy Hammond organs at Steinway Hammond dealers, they didn't want to deal with these rock guys. But hey, no big deal to me. So I started renting Hammond organs. And the next thing you know, I'd go on these stages. Now we're talking about Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Bachman Turner, Blood, Sweat and Tears. You know, groups like that of the late 60s had come through town and need a Hammond organ, and I was the guy. I knew how to hook it up and all that stuff too, and I could help them here and there. Well, then what happened, this was weird. All of a sudden, kids start coming to my store with these amplifiers, Fenders. I thought, what the heck is that? That's what you have on your car. And one kid, I remember vividly, came in one day, and I said, what's the matter? And he says, oh, my guitar amp's broke. Well, the inquisitive little ham I was, of course, like all of us. I turned it upside down. What did I see? A pair of 6L6s and a 5U4. Aha, 5U4. I knew what was in there. Turned it upside down. You know what happened? He tried to make it go to 12 and move to 10, and he blew up the final. So I happen to have a pair of 6L6s. You don't throw anything away. The string resistors were burned. We knew that. Everybody knew that. And the 6L6s go, the string resistors go. I threw in a 5U4. I turned it back upside down. Bingo. He was really impressed. Well, nothing any one of us on the frequency could have done that. And that spread across the St. Louis area, that there's this Frico down in Alyssa, Illinois, with a picture and fires. That's how it all started. And then it was Michael McDonald and Mario Speedwagon, only they weren't known by what Michael was. I think they were kids in high school in the St. Louis area. And that's how it all started. Then I get on the stages renting my organ, and I thought, man, that PA is terrible. You couldn't hear it. Little Berkeley Master Collins with little 6-inch speakers in them, and they're trying to make these things do 120 dB, sure. And then the next chapter was getting some 8.4s at the Fox Theater, where I used to play. The Fox Theater was throwing out, and I was lucky enough to stop by one day when they were doing it, and I confiscated them as they were throwing them in the dumpster. And I brought them home. I put some Macintosh amplifier power behind them, and that was the beginning. And we did the Grateful Dead back on the Fox stage. That was killer. They came through town and didn't have a PA in 1970, so the stagehand that gave me those speakers called me and he said, "You still got those speakers?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, here, talk to this guy." And it was Jerry Garcia. And I took that PA up there and blew those guys out of the building. They never played through anything like that. But I didn't know that. I figured everybody was doing that, but it wasn't. And then we were on the road with them, and they wanted to get the speakers off the stage. Well, that's easy. Some rolling 25G. Up the side, across the top, and the bottom, bingo, bingo, bingo. And if you still see today, if you look up on stages, what do you see? Rolling 25G, lots of it. So that's just a piece of the beginning, but that's how it started, and it was all because of ham radio that still does that. The microphones we just developed were developed on the very same table that I'm leaning on back here. I just listening that 4410 up there, and when I get it right, I know it's right. And that's how it all happened. So it's been kind of fun. Fun run. And I guess it all culminates when in June and hit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like, wow, it's just really going to happen. But history goes down here, and I'm really quite humbled by all of that. But that's some of the story life, and chapter 2, I guess. So, go ahead and back to you guys. KO6NN and WJ6W and K9EID.
Okay, so there's Bob in his own words about the beginnings of his business, all related to ham radio. Of course, he made all the ham radio products as well as that developed. So I hope everyone appreciated that. And also there's some recordings on John N9AMI's YouTube channel, Wavelength Radio. He has the last, let's see, there was a QSO Bob did on December 13th. Here he was on the AMI net again through the internet in my station when he was recovering from kind of a real bad reaction to some medication, and none of us, including me, knew really how seriously ill he was. He kind of hid it and blamed it all on a bad medication reaction. Anyway, he was on that night. That's on the Wavelength Radio channel. And then apparently his last QSO out east on 3875 AM sometime in January. But if you go to YouTube and Wavelength Radio, you can look through the recordings and probably find that. So, thanks for your indulgence. And before we go and get started with the net, is there anyone else who wants to check in right now for the AMI net? Come now.